Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Ananya to come forward and present the bouquet to conference convener, ICSG Professor Archana Patro. Now I would like to invite Samriddhi to come forward and present the bouquet to conference convener, ICSG Professor Aviral Kumar Tiwari.
Yes, beta.
Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Archana Patro to deliver the opening remarks and tell us more about the International Conference on Sustainable Goals 2022.
A very good morning to all of you. Honorable Director Ma'am, my dear faculty colleagues, and all the conference participants. I welcome you all to this prestigious conference of IIM Bodh Gaya, that is ICSG 2022. I would like to express my gratitude and warm welcome to our plenary and featured international and national speakers for the event. The conference aims to promote various issues of sustainability through sharing research knowledge and practitioner experiences. We are grateful to our director, ma'am, who initiated this event with a thought that as an educational institute, we have a fundamental role in transforming the society aimed at a more sustainable future. The conference is being co-organized in association with Cambridge Center for Environment, Energy and Natural Resource Governance, University of Cambridge. And it is being sponsored by Becker Professional Education USA. To make the benefits of the economic development to become long-lasting, there is a consensus around the world to strive for sustainable development goals. To promote sustainable development goals, regulators are promoting the process of taking due account of environmental, social, and governance considerations while making financial and investment decisions among the corporate globally. So realizing this importance, the conference theme that was set as managing economic development and financial stability in the era of SDGs and ESGs, and the call for papers for the same were announced. To inform you all with great pride, the conference has received a very good response, both at the national as well as international level. We received approximately 430 extended abstracts, out of which the review committee, having done a rigorous and blind review process, has selected only 305 abstracts for the presentation. Finally, out of the same, 250 papers registered for the conference successfully meeting the deadline and completing the full paper on time. So we have now in these 2 days of the conference, that is on 16th and 17th September, 50 tracks where around 250 papers will be presented in these days. In total, the conference has a total participation of around 365 participants. We received paper presentation from 25 states of India within our country. Internationally, we received research papers from USA, Netherlands, and Mauritius. We received papers on the theme, which can be broadly classified, and we have classified it as per the track, such as carbon and ecological footprint, carbon tax and climate financing, sustainable finance and investment, electrical vehicles, which is a sustainable solution, environmental and financial sustainability, green finance and investment, environmental economic growth, environmental social and governance report, financial inclusion, circular economy, regulatory framework, sustainable accounting and reporting, and corporate governance. So with a large number of participants, we are sure that this conference will be a memorable, highly educational, and it will be successful. We truly value your participation and support for this conference. I wish you all the best and hope you all have an enriching experience for these next 2 days. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. May I now take the privilege to introduce our Honorable Director, Dr. Vinita S. Sahai, educator, researcher, and academic administrator. She is the second woman in the country appointed by the Government of India to head an IIM. Currently, Professor Sahai is the founder director at Indian Institute of Management, Bodh Gaya, and professor of marketing since February 2018. Professor Sahai has 26 years of rich and varied experience in academics, research, training, and consulting, both in India and abroad. She secured first class with high ranks throughout her academic career. She did her PGDM with marketing as a major concentration area. She secured first class first with gold medal in MA in economics and has done PhD on customer value. She was also a visiting professor at Aarhus University, Denmark for 10 years. Professor Sahai participated in Global Colloquium on Participant-Centered Learning at the Harvard Business School, Boston, US, and Harvard Center, Shanghai, China. She also participated in Developing Leadership, Governance, and Management in Higher Education, program conducted by Leadership Foundation for Higher Education and UKIERI in Birmingham, UK. She is member of All India Board of Management Studies, AICTE. She was chairperson selection committee of Lilavati Awards for Women Empowerment for 2021. She is nominated as an expert on several UGC committees. She has conducted many management development programs for senior executives of public and private sector. Professor Sahai has published and presented over 70 research papers in international and national journals, conferences, and book chapters. She has organized 5 large international conferences and edited 6 books. As token of excellence of her work, she has received many academic awards, including Best Paper Award. I welcome you on stage, ma'am, to grace the audience with your wisdom.
Thank you, Aditi. So a very warm good morning to all the participants, faculty colleagues, and my dear students. And a very warm good morning to Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Director of Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University, Professor Cheng Failure, Distinguished Professor of Finance at Rutgers Business School, Professor John Goodall, Professor in the Department of Finance at University of Akron, Professor Andreas Contilian, Professor of Environment Economics and Public Policy at University of Cambridge, and Mr. Aziz Tayebi, International Business Development at Becker. We are really thankful to each one of you for having spared your time to be a keynote speaker to this ICSG Conference 2022 at IIM Bodh Gaya. It is indeed a very momentous occasion for each one of us at IIM Bodh Gaya because sustainability is something which is very, very close to our hearts. I think we have already, in 2018, has already embraced as mindfulness as our core value. And there is such a deep connection between mindfulness and sustainability. And what gives us even further more pride is this is something which has always been there as a part of our civilization. We take a lot of pride that India, being one of the ancient most civilization, has always understood the meaning and the relevance of these words. In fact, if I quote one of the basic premise on which we live our life, it is ahimsa paramo dharma. And when I use the word ahimsa, it is not restricted to a very limited meaning of non-vegetarianism or non-violence towards fellow living beings. It is much larger. India has always believed that there are 5 elements of life, Mahapanchbhut as we call it. And of course, we all as Indians know, and right from very childhood, we know that there is an element called earth or prithvi, water or jal, fire or tejas, wind or vayu, and space or akash. And we are nothing but these 5 elements. And it has been inbuilt into us to respect them. We know that our existence is dependent on them, and what, in fact, we have emanated from them. So when we respect anything, we cannot abuse it. When we treat them as God, we cannot violate it. And that is the premise with which this ancient civilization has always led life. Yes, there has been recent modernizations. So that is the reason why these conferences, these thought exchanges are extremely important, where we are revisiting our values, where we are revisiting that how the only way the humankind can prosper, thrive, the only way we can give a beautiful gift to our coming generation is by living the life the way we've been always living. Whenever, as humanity, we have gone in for any deviation, we've paid a very heavy price. I think last 2 years has been one such occasion where collectively, as humanity, we have paid a very, very heavy price for treating Mother Nature or all these 5 elements in the way that we have not expected to do it. So, though it is a way of life for us, but everything needs reminder, everything needs revisiting, and everything needs to be put in the right perspective in the current context. And which is why I'm extremely thankful to these 300 paper contributors who have delved deep into this concept in today's context. Like, I am a marketing professor. I know that mindful consumption is important. And I know that mindful finance is important. I know that's the only way in which we can do it in a more sustainable way. So I think, I would say that these 5 professors who have agreed to be there as keynote speakers, they will set the tone. And these 200 odd papers, which have been 250 or 60 odd papers, which have been selected to be presented, will give us a lot of food for thought to each one of us as researchers, as educators, because as Archana was mentioning, this is a fundamental duty of an educational institution to create spaces where these kind of conversations can be held, to propagate such ideas for the betterment of the humankind. And of course, being a business school, we have to root it and set it in the context of businesses. And that's the reason wonderful tracks across all domains. I have seen some of the papers, they're truly world-class. Some really good insights have come. And I'm so sure these 2 professors, Professor Archana and Professor Aviral, have really worked round the clock along with some of our research scholars. Especially, I'm very proud of the first batch of FPM students, or PhD students, who have contributed big time into holding this conference. And as a team, you have really done exceptionally well, looking into the number of contributions which have come and the number of output which will come out of this conference. And once again, I congratulate to both these conveners, and I'm so hopeful, and I'm so I know it rather. The young team that I have will also pick up a lot of threads from this conference itself as to what are the further areas in which we can hold such events. where we can provoke and nudge fellow colleagues across the globe to think on the similar lines. So once again, thank you for creating this occasion, and we really look forward to the contribution from each one of paper presenters and researchers sitting across the length and breadth of the nation and length and breadth of the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. That was indeed insightful. I would now like to request Director ma'am to inaugurate the conference proceeding.
മുട്ട പൊരിച്ചു വെച്ചു, കോഫി ഉണ്ടാക്കിയതുണ്ട്, ചായ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയതുണ്ട്, ബ്രെഡ് നുട്ടല എടുത്ത് പുറത്തു വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു.
I request everyone to keep themselves muted unless called upon. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to invite our very first keynote speaker, Professor John W. Goodall. Since completing his PhD from Kent State University in 2008, he has co-authored over 50 articles and book chapters, including articles in the Journal of Banking and Finance, International Business Review, and the Journal of Business Ethics, and has been cited for 3,755 times. Professor John W. Goodall is now Editor-in-Chief of Research in International Business and Finance. He is a professor in the Department of Finance at the University of Akron. His research interests focus particularly on the impact on financial systems of national culture and institutions. In 2011, he received the Stockholm School of Economics Women in the Academy of International Business Award for increased gender awareness in the international arena. Not taking any more of his time, I would like to hand over the platform to Professor Goodall.
business practices, and to isolate the ESG effect. We reason, although we don't really, in this current version, we don't really go after isolating the E, the S, the G, which would be more interesting for sustainability, is that we reason that the E, S, and G, they all lead to more transparency and therefore less bad news hoarding, and that this is sensed by investors, and that they will therefore trust firms more when there's a crisis. Because if investors sense that there's bad news hoarding, then they will be uncomfortable. They will think that under conditions of great crises, there might be a problem for the firm. We also view that the S&G might lead to enhanced organizational trust, which will help firms weather crises as well. For instance, shifting to take-home work and things of that nature, that they all work together to create an atmosphere of accountability and trust. And so that's our motivation. We use international responses to the COVID-19 pandemic are sourced from our world in data, which actually you can get like now quite a variety of COVID-19 stringency measures, and a whole variety of measures that were imposed to test them on different conditions. Lockdown, work from home, workplace, vaccination policies, and so on. And so we end up with about 7,000 companies that actually don't do any international at all, to just test the true impact of ESG on firms. And so obviously we use the period where there's a real heightened COVID presence around the world. And we want to make sure that the analyzed company is influenced entirely by the government decisions based on the jurisdiction in which they are based. Companies are strictly selected based on 100% of exposure, defined as primary country of risk. So to test for the different effects of the stock returns and volatility of companies with domestic geographic exposure, we go through all these. I think I'm being a little repetitive there. And we just do an event study type modeling based off the events of COVID and severity, and use a GARCH modeling, very simple, parsimonious, to get the return and volatility responses. And, some preliminary studies, we certainly find that COVID caused negative return and volatility responses among firms. But then the question is, was that a lot less for firms that were higher in ESG? And the answer for us was yes. And in fact, the results were really quite striking, the magnitude. Once you eliminate sort of the muddying effect of firms that do a lot of cross-border trade. So naturally, we had to account for the variation of market opening and closing times, weekends and public holidays, and all kinds of things of this nature. And why eGARCH? Well, we felt that was going to create a framework that would allow for the independent return volatility shocks and leave room for the establishment of a risk premium. And based on various tests, that we ran, we decided that was the best modeling. That might be for a more detailed presentation. So we compared then across deciles of ESG, elevated ratios of significantly positive to negative returns as we move across deciles of ESG scores. So in the decile with the lowest ESG scores, there was a ratio of positive to negative returns of 1.3. However, this ratio immediately elevated to 2.3 just from going from decile 1 to decile 2. So it's really quite striking evidence that ESG at the firm level can have tremendous utility, maybe more than previous research really been able to assess. And then going on to deciles 3 and 8, the ratio positive and negative is between 2.6 and 2.9, and then elevates to 3.5 for deciles 9 and 10. So clearly, companies with larger ESG estimates experience significantly more positive returns. And when considering workplace restrictions, results are estimated to be even more pronounced, with ratios to be between 1 and 1.4 for deciles 1 to 4, elevating to even 3.7 or 4.0 for deciles 9 and 10 for really high ESG level firms. And similar for lockdown and vaccination stringencies. And volatility responses are similar as well, that you get much more favorable volatility responses at higher level of ESG. But again, only considering firms that that don't do any cross-border activity. I mean, granted, any firm in any economy is going to be affected by everything in the world and today with so much interlinkages. But you can still actually find a huge sample of firms still that don't really have much at all in the way of international exposure. And we also, because it's kind of known that ESG and corporate size kind of go together, we tested this and we found that if we did something similar with corporate size in there, that it's not the same pattern, that our results are really not due to simply picking up firms that are bigger or something, or they have more ESG.
Recording in progress.
And so on. Oops. There we are. Oh, I think someone's speaking, but I can't quite hear them. Okay, I guess we're okay. And so if you look at just kind of the results down here on the left, we have lockdown, work from home, workplace, vax policy, testing policy, stringency, all these different conditions. And then over here, the different deciles, we see that we have quite a sample there of negative and positive hits through these. And similarly for volatility. I'll just skip ahead here a little, but you see here down there, the ratios is the key column here, positive to negative. And if I go back here a little bit, look how just for lockdown, for instance, the ratio positive to negative, it's not perfectly linear, like for some reason in the fourth decimal, it goes down again. But then it goes up strikingly to almost more than twice what it would be for here, and similar for other conditions. So we isolate the ESG effect depending on the particular anti-COVID measures, whether it was work from home or lockdown and so on. For workplace restrictions, then we see a rather large effect of almost up to 4.0. For returns positive to negative for the highest ESG level, and so on. So I don't want to belabor this, and we also do some other routines to just develop the robustness of this. But overall, for our sample of close to 7,000 companies, ESG is found to be really positively related to helping out during crisis caused by government restrictions. But I think going on from just simply this study, what would be interesting is to think about, what are some of the aspects that we still don't know. But just to finalize this, that we do think that ESG provides a lot of trust to investors by reflecting higher levels of transparency, less bad news hoarding, and organizational cultures that are seen to be then better able to adapt to crises. But I would also mention, though, I think that overall, with this, there's so much research into ESG at the moment that there's still a great number of things that we really don't know. This paper might address one of them, and that is ESG larger when you only look at one country in domestically focused firms? Other aspects are, what is the real bottom line? Research has failed to address. If firms all across the world were to adopt much higher ESG, including sustainability, of course, but then other aspects, what would be the bottom line impact on the environment? Investors are rewarding firms for ESG, perhaps because the investors feel it's in their own interest. But if firms elevated their ESG across the world, does research really identify how much better the world would be? I think that's maybe a huge question, but approachable question. And then the other question I would have is, of course, the one that cynics have, and that is, how much do firms game their ESG scores around the world? Are ESG scores truly reflective of ESG? In this study, we went for the scores that are put out by Bloomberg and so on. But the broader question is, are firms genuinely engaging in sustainability practices, or are they gaming these scores? And so research has a long way to go. And of course, it's a desperately important situation for our planet and for sustainability. But at least there's a little bit of comfort in the idea that I think if you do a rigorous research, you can find that firms benefit from ESG. And so with that, I will say thank you for that, and appreciate it, and look forward to any comments you might have, and so on. And sorry for arriving a little bit late. I actually had it in my book for, I guess it's the time zone difference. I thought I was actually speaking tomorrow. So I suddenly looked at my phone and I got a message from Dr. Tawari, and I was like, oh no. And but I'm glad I was able to join you. It's indeed a great honor to be able to join, albeit virtually, with an IIM Bodh Gaya, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Take any questions? Hello, am I audible? Sorry, there was a technical glitch. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time and being with us today.
Always my pleasure.
Yeah, sir, would you like to take any questions?
Oh, absolutely. And great to visit and hear how things are going in India and what's new and anything at all.
Okay, so I request the audience, if anybody has any questions, they can proceed and ask sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Sure.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm Nitin, a PhD student from IFMI GSP University. I have a question regarding how the ESG disclosure and performance will varies as per the country level and the firm level factors, like institutional investors protection and am I audible?
Your question kind of broke up a little bit, but I think you're asking about the how does it really measure all of the internal components, and would that be correct? And so we use the scores from Bloomberg. Bloomberg particularly has a environmental component.
Yes. My question, regarding that, because in different countries, the disclosure practices and the investors' attitude towards these especially non-financial disclosure things are different, right? So how can we generalize with these examples? That's my question, sir.
You know, I don't know if I've really considered the depth of what you're getting at, that there could be differences across countries. I find that actually a really interesting question to consider. I really don't think we really considered that aspect of trying to correct things for different countries. We just took the ESG scores that were provided by Bloomberg and ran them. And it was enough of a chore to get companies that had no trade to run the Garch modeling on 7,000, and then we get the processors running quite a bit. But I need to actually think about that more. You might have just be actually informing me about something that I need to pay more attention to. That, in your view, would you say that ESG scores are sort of biased in some countries versus others? And if so, I haven't really actually I haven't tried to grapple with that. So I'm not sure I have a good answer to your question, even though it's a fascinating question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, once again for sparing your valuable time and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you.
We might not be able to take more questions as we have the next guest waiting with us.
Thank you so much for your kind attention, and wishing everybody over there all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Professor Sachin K Mangala. Dr. Sachin Kumar Mangala is a visiting research fellow, Plymouth Business School. He is working in the field of green and sustainable supply chain and operations, Industry 4.0, circular economy, decision-making, and simulation. He is committed to do and promote high-quality research. He has published and presented several papers in reputed international and national journals, Journal of Business Research, International Journal of Production Economics, International Journal of Production Research, Computers and Operations Research, Production Planning and Control, Business Strategy, and the Environment. He has an H index 59, I-10 index 110, Google Scholar citations of more than 10,000. He is involved in several editorial positions and editing special issues as a guest editor in top-tier journals. Currently, he is working as an associate editor at Journal of Cleaner Production, International Journal of Logistics Management, Sustainable Production and Consumption, and IMA Journal of Management Mathematics journals. He is also involved in several research projects on various issues and applications of circular economy, Industry 4.0, and sustainability. Among them, he also contributed to the knowledge-based decision model in enhancing and implementing knowledge-based ICT solutions within high-risk and uncertain conditions for agriculture production systems. European Commission RISE scheme, 1.3 million euro. Recently, he has also received a grant as a PI from British Council, Newton Fund Research Environment Links, Turkey and UK. Circular and Industry 4.0 driven solutions for reducing food waste in supply chains. He is also working in several projects on food waste, circular economy, and Industry 4.0 issues, sponsored by Government of India and state government agencies. I welcome you, sir, and request you to offer your insights.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the lovely introduction, and thank you very much for inviting me. I would like to extend my, again, great thanks to Dr. Avril for his invitation, and as well as I can see it's a wonderful platform where more than 150 people have already joined, and still people are joining. So I would like to congratulate the organizing team. I'm Bodh Gaya, and also Director I'm Bodh Gaya, and all the wonderful team members and all the organizing members and all the team members and all the you could say support staff for organizing such a wonderful conference. Because yesterday also I have attended that session on editors meet, so that was also a kind of wonderful session where we have interacted with the people, like probably how they can improve their writing skills and how they can go for the best quality research outputs. But today I think my role is something else. Today I will I will be discussing something on, because the conference is about SDGs, conference is about sustainability, conference is about how we can contribute to the better planet. So in that aspect, I would like to discuss some of my viewpoints about that, about my research. And it's not purely be technical, but I would be a bit more generic, because I can see people are mostly joining, or they could be having a different kind of backgrounds. People maybe from different management disciplines would be joining in the conference. So I tried my best to keep it as generic as possible, but at the same time, the message should be conveyed. Like, why do we need this sustainability? What is the importance of this business sustainability? And what do you mean by these SDGs and all those kind of stuff, and so on. So let me share my screen. Yeah. Is it fine? Is it visible, please? Anyone can confirm?
Yes, sir, you are visible and audible also.
Sure. So with respect to the time limitations, I think I have around 30 to 35 minutes. Then we can have 5 to 10 minutes for question and answers. So I tried to be very crisp in terms of circular economy and business sustainability. For my expertise, I'm mostly working in supply chain and operations management with interdisciplinary kind of research system or interdisciplinary kind of research themes that I'm working with, but all are converging towards green, circular economy, and sustainability related issues in the context of operations and supply chain management. I'm more in decisions. So most of the time I'm working with those quantitative techniques or maybe tools, and you can see about all those things in my papers, in my research projects or assignments, that most of the time you will find some mathematics, you will find some equations, and so and so in that stuff. Today, what I'm going to present, so as in my introduction, they already mentioned that we are working on several projects. So again, I would like to give a due acknowledgement to all those funding agencies, whether they are in United Kingdom or maybe across different parts of the world, like India, China. Like in India, we are having projects from ICSG, Indian Council of Social Science Research, USAC from Uttarakhand government, and as well as from other parts of the world like Turkey, China, and from Europe as well. So just one slide on supply chain management, because when I'm talking about sustainability or supply chain sustainability, so I think first of all, we need to understand about supply chain management. I'm pretty sure like most of you must be familiar with this term. So this is something not new, but still I would like to draw probably 1 or 2 minute attention that what do you mean by the supply chain management? You might be finding several technical definitions, maybe some complex definitions, okay? Those have been written in the different books, and if you can take it from different sources. But for me, supply chain management or supply chain is something, see, there are two components in the business. One, there is demand, and another one, there is supply. So as a businessman, as a management, as a supply chain manager, or probably as an operations manager, if you are able to manage your demand with supply, so I think you are the best manager. That what we have seen in this COVID-19, most of the companies, they have suffered. But why they have suffered? Because there was a mismatch in that demand and supply. And there are hundreds of reasons for this mismatch, okay? Either there was disruption in the flow of material, in the flow of probably, let's say, supplies, or probably the issues related to labor, probably the issues related to logistics, transportation was not there, demand was not there, customers were not happy to take those products at that time, and everything was stopped and everything was under lockdown. So what I mentioned to say, supply chain is something that is dealing with different set of actors, whether they are suppliers, manufacturer, distributors, retailers, or customers, and finally consumers. And they all are connected to fulfill customers' requirement, because ultimately customers are the boss. Okay, so they are the bosses. They are the ultimate deciders of the business. So as a supply chain manager, we need to understand their requirement. We need to keep that flow going, either with the material, either with the money or information, from upstream to downstream, or vice versa, from downstream to upstream in the supply chain. And that is the probably the conclusion of the supply chain, that you can, if you can manage that demand and supply, if you can manage those flows, I think you are the best supply chain manager. Now let me come to this part. Yeah, now it's fine. Let me come to this part, because what we are dealing with this conference, sustainability, okay, or maybe SDGs and all these things. So what do you mean by sustainability? So very important definition or very important document was presented in WCED in 1987. They have defined this word called sustainable development. So sustainable development, it looks like when you are meeting your present needs, but at the same time, you are not compromising the ability of future generations with the future, let's say, because you have to leave something, you have to, let's say, preserve something, those resources for your future generations as well. So we need to consume those resources wisely. It is not something that you are just consuming those resources today onwards. So what we are having for our future generations. So that is one of the important questions that we need to understand in sustainable development. For businesses, either it is manufacturing or services, or maybe a kind of like hybrid. So if we are talking about sustainability, so it means we are talking about triple bottom line model. I used to discuss with my scholars, I used to discuss with my colleagues, what do you mean by sustainability? How we can assess that a company, a business is going for sustainability, or they are already implementing sustainability. So very best solution is triple bottom line model. Are they dealing with this triple bottom line model? If yes, of course, they are on the right track. But if not, so it means something is missing. So in triple bottom line model, you have three parts, you have three dimensions called as economy, cost effectiveness, environment, your ecological dimensions, and then you have that social impact of that business. So if you have all three components in the business, a company is conscious, the management is conscious about three components. So I think you are on the right track, and then you can understand the importance of this triple bottom line model. See, the trend has gone when the companies, when the businessmen, like they were only responsible for their profits. Now the time is they have to think for their environmental performance, the business of their different industrial activities. At the same time, they also have to take care of the community, people life, their welfare, quality of the life, that how they are going to impact, how the business is going to impact the quality of the life of the people. Okay, that is the society is something very important, community. So that's why this triple bottom line model is very, very important. Please keep in mind. Now, if I talk about challenges, see, everybody's talking about green supply chain management, sustainable supply chain management, or maybe SDGs, sustainable development, and so on and so on. But my dear friends, where is the challenge? It is not so easy. We can say a company should implement green, a company should implement sustainability, but is it so easy? No. There are so many challenges, there are so many hurdles, those are associated with real-time implementation of this green and sustainability. What are the challenges? There is a huge list. That's a very long list. I'm just going to discuss one or two important challenges, and probably that is the reality. So what is there in the reality? If you're talking about sustainability reports, so please keep in mind, you can find 1,000-page document. I'm repeating, you can find 1,000-page document available on their websites, available on their repositories. But how much they are doing actually, so that is the real gap. In reality, we are something here, but probably in reports, we are presenting like that. So there is the gap. So I think we need to fill this gap, that what we are saying, so we need to adopt those initiatives in reality on shop floor. Second important challenge is about costing. See, if you're talking about MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises, or maybe large enterprises, so there is a huge difference, my dear, because this green sustainability or maybe adoption of this SDGs, sustainable development goals, it is not so easy, as well as it is not free, because you have to invest as a business. You have to invest maybe on your suppliers, you have to invest maybe on probably on your workers for their training and development. You have to invest probably on your machineries, on your equipment, on your capacity, on your infrastructure, on your technology adoption, and so and so. So probably you have to invest a lot. So where from that money will come? That is the real challenge in front of businesses. That's why people are saying probably government should provide some support. And I think here is the real gap between a developing and developed nation. See, most of the time we are arguing why India probably is behind, let's say, if we are comparing it with maybe US or maybe with Europe and so and so, in terms of adopting this green SDGs, sustainability in businesses, because of this real challenge. From where the money will come, from where like the support will come, either from government side or either each of the stakeholder in the supply chain. So they are going to take responsibility. So one example from Hindustan Unilever, like where they have mentioned, like if we are looking for sustainability agenda, so we are looking for as much as participation from its suppliers, distributors, and even consumers in India. So my dear, as a stakeholder, we need to work together. As a stakeholder, we need to work in a systematic approach. This is not the responsibility of a supplier. This is not the responsibility of a distributor. This is not only the responsibility of a processor, of a manufacturer, or this is not only the responsibility of a consumer. So if everybody is responsible, so I think then it is going to make a change. And that is very important. Now the next question comes, see, everybody is interested in sustainability or green. But if I ask you how we can measure this sustainability, this is one of the very interesting concepts that has been again provided by one of the Indian professor, Professor Janat Shah, who was the recent director from IIM Udaipur. So key matrices for sustainability. So I think this particular concept was mentioned in his book as well, that he has written on supply chain and operations management. So how we can measure this sustainability? So I think these are the key matrices probably that we can take from these measures. How much energy we are consuming, how much water we are consuming, how much greenhouse gas emissions we are doing or carbon emissions we are doing. And last but not the least, how much waste we are generating. So see, in different annual reports of the companies, you will see these parameters. You will see these parameters because these are the very important or the basic parameters. Of course, you can have more and more parameters, maybe included in those sustainability reports, or if you would like to measure the sustainability, because most of the time this question came, if I'm interested in measuring my sustainability, how much I'm performing on sustainability aspect. So how can I measure? So probably you can check before implementing sustainability initiative, what was your energy consumption and what is the post energy consumption probably. So these are giving you some quantitative measures, and that is very important for a scholar to understand. Now let me come to next area that is called as circular economy. That is very close to me. So initially we are living in linear economy, something like here we are taking those resources, okay, raw materials, fresh raw materials. As a manufacturer, I'm going to produce those products or I'm going to provide those services. As a customer, as a consumer, I'm going to consume those products and services. But at the end of the day, what is happening? When I'm consuming those products or services, so ultimately I'm dumping them in my bin as a waste. So my dear friends, what we are doing here, can we think something innovative? Because innovation is very much important. Either it is process innovation, either it is technological innovation, or maybe something related to product or services. Okay. So what we can do, let us create a new sustainable future. Let us create a new vision. Why not to take this waste as a resource? Okay. Why not to take this waste as a resource? Why not to do something with this waste? And this is something called as circular economy. When you are taking this waste as a resource, okay, it's not only this waste. You must be generating some waste during production. You must be generating some waste during your use and consumption. You must be generating different types of waste probably throughout your supply chain. So the important thing is, can you create some value from that waste? If you are able to create that value from that waste, I think then it is going to be called as circular economy. There is also a difference between lean and circular economy, because in lean also you are taking to cut down that waste. But in circular economy, we are working on different strategies, like how we can recover the value from that waste, how we can close the loop of the supply chain. There are different R's are available. For example, you can go for rethinking, you can go for reduce, you can go for redesigning, you can go for reuse option, you can go for repairing or maybe remanufacturing or recycling, and it could be maybe recover as well. This concept, circular economy, was provided and enlightened by Ellen MacArthur Foundation somewhere around 2010 or 11. Okay, you may see that there could be some literature. People have mentioned a little bit about circular economy, even somewhere in 1990s, somewhere in 1992 as well. But the real drama or the real concept was ignited by this Ellen MacArthur Foundation when they have recognized all the important parts of the circular economy, and they have shown the way that how the circular economy could be the future for the sustainable world. Just maybe something on text. So circular economy is again going to contribute to that triple bottom line model, because most of the time it has been mentioned, if you are doing or if you are involved in circular economy concept, it means you are leading towards sustainability, because circular economy has been stated as a criteria for sustainability. It is going to build you around economic, your natural or environment, and social capital based on 3 principles, because you have to design out all the waste and pollution. You are trying to keep products and material in use, infinite cycle, probably. You would like to have maximum utilization, okay? And then you are going to regenerate your natural system. That is very important, because like we are taking care of our body, so we also need to take care of our planet. So we need to regenerate, because we are consuming all the resources, I don't know, in an exponential and blindly, but how we can regenerate our ecosystem. So that is again related to circular economy through anaerobic digestion. Okay, that is one of the best examples. So there are different examples are available. For example, electrical devices are designed so that they can be easily repaired. Products and raw materials can be reused as much as possible. Then for plastics, you can see the real implications of that plastic. Government of India has also banned different types of plastic, single-use plastic, I think. So there was a specific reason behind that, because plastic waste is very hazardous for health, and it is not even biodegradable. It is very difficult that to decompose that plastic in an environmental friendly way. So that's why we need to have those kinds of circular economy concepts, approaches, so that we can save our planet. Okay, there are so many examples all around the world. There are different large enterprises, and there are also some small and medium enterprises which have started adopting these circular economy principles. Okay, there is one of the famous case from India, India Private Limited. So maybe you can also search on your internet browser. So you can read about this company, and they are providing entire range of water waste solutions to meet the need of specific needs of the municipalities and industries across India. They are also involved in engineering and construction services, operations and management services, and so and so. So they are involved in that initiative already, like for circular economy and sustainability, as I mentioned. There are so many other examples. For example, PepsiCo, for example, Bisleri, for example, Coca-Cola, for example, Tata. So there are hundreds of examples are available, like where people are already adopting, maybe Mahindra and Mahindra. They are already working on that triple R principle: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So there are so many examples, but like this company, probably it's a kind of like, it's working in New Delhi. They are having collaborations with local authorities in New Delhi, Maharashtra, Greater Mohali, and so and so. So they are working on these initiatives to cut down the waste and to meet those water, energy, and resources or raw material needs. Circular economy in practice. So most of the time people, they used to ask in question, where we can apply circular economy? I think everywhere. You can apply if someone is working in food, maybe agriculture sector. So there is a scope of circular economy. If you're working with textile, fashion, again, you can go for circular economy, because fashion, textile, it's a very dirty industry. You can imagine how much water they are polluting, how much energy they are consuming, how much waste they are generating. Plastics, as I already discussed. So you need to have some measures to recycle, to find the way how you can, let's say, decompose that plastic, maybe in an environmental friendly manner. Smart cities, I think government of India has launched more than 100 smart cities projects. So there is a scope, how we can cut down the waste, how we can manage that waste, how we can go for that circularity in those smart cities. And last but not the least, artificial intelligence. Today, we are living in interdisciplinary age where people are, let's say, we are borrowing techniques from computer science, from engineering backgrounds, or we are borrowing techniques from economics background, or maybe, I don't know, we are borrowing techniques from some other backgrounds. So there is a huge scope of technology management or maybe AI applications to cut down this waste and to improve circularity in the business. So you can apply it anywhere, maybe in e-waste also, because most of the time people are talking about this electronics, electrical and electronics waste. So there also you can have that kind of concept called circular economy. What is circular economy? I think I already mentioned, but there is a very important concept that why not to start from design itself. See, a very important term is there in the business context that is called as life cycle. So why not to design that life cycle in such a way that you are taking care of all those emissions, you are taking care of all those wastes right from the design stage. How your material selection is going to happen? Are you going to use some standardized products? Are you going for some design to last products? Are you going for products? Are you going to use products? Those are easy to sort probably. Okay, there could be some design for manufacturing criteria. So all those parameters you are already taking care in your design stage. And if you are taking care of those parameters in your design stage, I think easily you can manufacture them and easily your customers, they can use them. But why not to inbuild the circular economy from your design stage itself? So that is very important to understand. Business models. Okay, see, as a scholar, when I used to interact with businesses, maybe small scale or medium or maybe large enterprises, so their first question is, okay, we understand what is the concept of the circular economy. I agree with you that it is going to cut down the waste. Okay, it is going to keep my material or services in use for infinite cycle. But how I can do that? This is the reality. Okay, so as a scholar, we need to understand what is our duty and responsibility. We need to collaborate with those industry people, and then we need to suggest some business models to them, because probably we are more closer to the literature compared to them. And then I think we can make a synergy between academia and industry, and so that our stakeholders could be benefited. So that could be the case. Probably you can also propose first business model called hierarchy of waste. So you can start with this kind of inward parameters, like there is first called rethink and redesign. So initially, I think you have to rethink for your process how you are generating waste, why you are generating waste, and from where you are generating waste. So where is the scope? Okay, how much you can reduce, how you can make maximum utilization from this waste, how you can consider this waste as a resource. Again, that was proposed by Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So why not to go for rethinking and redesigning from your first phase as well? Then how we can reduce probably the consumption of material, probably the consumption of energy, probably the consumption of water, probably the consumption of all other resources, and maybe probably the overutilization of our worker or maybe labor as well. Okay, how we can go for this reuse? That is again very important. Then let us go for recycling. Let us try to recover the value of that product and services through recycling. And finally, see, it is very difficult to you could say to get value for this 100% of this product maybe. So certain part of the product or services, it is very difficult to let's say to close the loop probably. So that's why you need to dispose a certain part in an environmental friendly manner, the remaining part, because it is very difficult to do something with that part. So in that way, this model could be followed by the industries. The next important framework is resolve framework. Okay, that was again given by Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So we need to understand that it stands with this resolve means regenerate, S share, O optimize, L loop, V virtualize, and E exchange. Okay, so I will just go it very quickly. So regenerate means we need to regenerate our ecosystem, please, as we are taking care of our health, our body. So we need to take care of the environment, our ecosystem as well. Why not to return some biological materials to the system? Why not to shift to those renewable energy sources? Might be solar, might be some other sources of energy. Why not to shift to probably those e-vehicles? So that is again going to be the future probably, but we need to understand the importance of that. Okay. How about this S, share? Why not to share our assets if possible? For example, cars, appliances, and so on and so. Why not to go for reuse? Why not to go for sometimes second-hand option? Why not to improve the life of the existing equipments through durability, through my annual or probably through periodic maintenance? So what I want to say, why not to improve the existing life of the products? And then why not to go for the sharing and reuse and second hand? Why not to preserve some of our resources? Because small change can make a large difference. Optimize, why not to optimize the performance of the products? It is very important to increase the performance. Let us remove waste. Let us try to leverage automation. Excessive automation again is going to, I don't know, sometimes it is going to be destructive as well. So sometimes we also used to say disruptive technologies. So we need to make it a leverage. We need to make a balance. Why not to go for sometime remote sensing, steering, loop? Why not to close the loop of the supply chain through remanufacturing, through recycling? Why not to go for anaerobic digestion through those biomasses and so, biogas plants? Why not to extract those biochemicals from organic waste in terms of manure and in terms of organic farming and so? There are so many other options. Why not to go for virtualize? I think this conference again going on in this, let's say, online mode. So we are delivering our services remotely. Today I'm connected with you through this Zoom network online. So again, we are saving some of the resources in transportations, and there are so many other things that we are saving. Probably we are saving some of the resources. Okay. So why not to replace some physical products by virtual services, if possible? Why not to replace those physical with again virtual locations? So if possible, let us go with that virtualization. Exchange, very important. Why not to exchange our traditional material? Why not to exchange our traditional machines? See, as I was saying, these concepts are not free. You have to invest on your machines. You have to invest on your material. You have to invest on your technology. For example, 3D printing. You have to invest probably on your way. What procedure probably you are doing, what procedure you are following, probably the way of delivering your services. So you need to make those fundamental changes, because only then you can go for those initiatives. There is also a very important framework called 9R strategies, or maybe sometimes 10R strategies. So this paper has already been published from our side, one of our contribution. That project was again sponsored by UK government, and that paper was published in Journal of Business Research. So where we have, you could say, documented the different strategies for developing a circular food supply chain at different stakeholders, for example, suppliers, farmers, processors or manufacturing, distributors, retailers, and consumers. Different R's could be like reuse, recycle, remanufacture, refurbishing, repurpose, recover, rethink, and there are others as well. So we have mapped the whole food supply chain. We have mapped these practices, how we can adopt these practices, how we can improve circularity, how we can make maximum utilization, and how we can just improve our planet and so on. There is again one more real case study. The company that I have visited personally, even they are situated in Brazil. I have visited there in 2018. I think it's December 18. So the company name is Syntronics. They are purely based on reverse logistics. They are purely based on circular economy principles, and they are developing their businesses in electrical and electronics equipments or products. So they are collecting all the wastage, all the used products, electronics and electrical equipment. Those are discarded. And then they are going for those remanufacturing and recycling initiatives. And then they are adding value, and they are creating a huge market. And they are purely based on reverse logistics. They are purely based on circular economy fundamentals. So even like these days, we can see there are so many startups. Those are also already doing their businesses, or they have already started their businesses, that when they are collecting waste, for example, there are so many examples in plastic manufacturing. Like when those companies, they are collecting all the plastic waste that has been used by we all, and then they are just sorting out that, they are just making most of the utilization of that waste in terms of that recycling. Okay, so in that way, like we are going to create value, and we are using the concept of the circularity and all this stuff. Sometimes people are also interested, for scholars, I think, they used to ask from where we can get some data. So from Indian perspective, I'm giving you a very important slide, I think, that from where like you can get some data. If you are interested in doing or if you're already working in municipality, solid waste and liquid waste, you can visit this Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. If you're working with scrap metals, so please visit maybe Ministry of Steel. For electronics waste, you can go with Ministry of Electronics and IT. For those batteries, Niti Aayog is there, solar panels, MNRE, gypsum, promotion of industry and internal trades, toxic and hazardous industrial waste, Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, used oil waste, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, agriculture waste, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and so and so. There could be few more ministries that could be lined up with those kinds of initiatives. But sometimes we used to ask from where we are going to get some data. Is there some open sources of data are available where we can get some information, what is happening in India based on these and these sectors and so on. So I think information is there, but sometimes we are not able to find that. So I think I'm well on time, and this is something from my side. I can take probably a full day course, maybe on sustainability, but because of the shortage of time, so I have just concluded all the stuff in just half an hour. And I tried my best to give you a very simple and very brief, concise glimpse of this important concept called sustainability or circularity, or how probably we can start, or what could be the business model possibilities in industries, because they are the real stakeholders. And we need to bring something for our community as well, for the people welfare as well, because we can't neglect our society. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. If you have any queries, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to open the platform to the audience to ask questions.
I'm happy that there is no question, I think. So
No,
most
sir,
of-
there's just some technical glitch. We are solving that. Just give us a
Okay.
minute.
Okay, so nice of you. Please.
Now I request the participants again to ask for permission to unmute themselves and ask the questions. Our technical team will approve their requests. I think there is a question in the chat box, sir.
Okay. Sir, what is the role of government in a welfare country like India, as we are in transition phase in the development stage? Of course, thank you very much. And as I already mentioned, government is going to play a very crucial role. Okay. Because see, in businesses, whether it is small or medium or large enterprises, so everybody is looking to have a support from government. Okay. So if government is supporting those initiatives, if government is probably providing some kind of motivation, and if government is providing some kind of, I don't know, because most of the time we are looking for some kind of maybe subsidies, tax benefits for all those green, sustainable or circular economy principles or products or services being delivered by the companies. And most of the time now, if you will see, so I think government is very supported for this MSME sector as well. They are providing a huge amount of financial support, probably if they are interested in doing all this stuff. So we can't leave everything to the government itself as well. I would like to make it clear, because in supply chain, so everybody has to contribute. Management, first of all, they also need to be willing to adopt this green or circularity or SDG kind of concept. And I think then, because government has launched so many different schemes these days, each and every year government is launching their budget, and they are mentioning and they are focusing on this sustainable planet, green planet. They are urging for these, like Clean India mission is there, Digital India mission is there, Healthy India mission is there, isn't it? And they're also saying that a kind of all other different types of missions are already going on, where they are focusing on all these concepts. But again, we need to work in a systematic manner. We need to collaborate and we need to work together if you would like to achieve these kinds of initiatives. So I'm hoping that I have answered your question, my dear.
Very good morning, sir.
Please.
Yeah, this is Dr. Gangunaidu Mandala from Narsimonji.
Okay, sure, nice. Nice
This
to
is
meet you.
sir, this is common question everybody will ask. Recently, Prime Minister also announced that we will reach to the top countries in terms of GDP also.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, everybody expecting more GDP. Yes, we agree it increases. But why employment is not increasing equal to that? Can you suggest what should we do?
See, I think that is more related to policy, because GDP is increasing, but employment is not increasing. But I would say, see, I will take this concept in a different manner, because of, like a scholar, like I'm working in digital transformations as well. So most of the time we are arguing that, okay, if we are doing more and more digital transformations, so they will replace human beings, like robots will replace human beings, like technology will replace human efforts, and so and so. So there is a myth in the society, like if we are going for more digital transformation, so probably all of the jobs would be taken away by these machineries, by these equipments. But I will say it in another way, probably, like if we are doing that digital transformations, because everybody is talking about data these days. So we need people again to manage to handle those data. We are living in a big data age. So again, there is no shortage of job. And I think if you will see, there are numerous opportunities. There are hundreds and thousands of opportunity in that sector. So sometimes you can say the job can vary from sector to sector, because traditional jobs probably are not so recognized these days. So we need to build some extra skills. We need to build some interdisciplinary skills. And I think then probably there is no shortage of jobs as far as I understand. So sorry, like if I'm not able to understand or maybe to deliver the answer appropriately, but from my experience as a scholar, I think I have tried to interpret your question in that way. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So far, many people, they said government should do that one, this one, but you're the first person. The public also should involve and they should participate them.
Sure,
So both
because
people should participate, then we will grow that. Thank you so much.
see,
It's very good answer, sir. Yes.
thank you.
Not
Because
only
see,
government, the people all should understand, they should change their pattern.
of
It will
course.
change complete economy, sir.
See, like it is not only the government. We all are stakeholders. We also need to take responsibility. Yeah. If you are not taking responsibility, so how we can leave each and everything to the government? Because that is not a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Rajiv Saxena has mentioned something. While a lot is talked and action on SDGs, and there is a need for real action and bridge the gap in various in this as the coherence in reporting and standards is the most least. Do you agree with this, and what your views on it? Of course, as I already mentioned, see, as a company, when there is an audit, so I think I will put green everywhere. Sometimes I will even paint my building that with some green kind of, and I will just decorate all those things with this greenery, just to show that how conscious we are about green. Okay. But I don't know what is happening in reality. As a report, I can present that much amount of document. I can keep that documentation, but I'm very much interested in action. As you already mentioned, there is a huge gap what we are showing and what we are doing. But again, this is not only the company, as I mentioned, because company is also having their own limitations, because they are the not only the single stakeholders in the supply chain. Suppliers, they are the other stakeholders, your distributors, your retailers, your customers and consumers. See, most of the time people used to ask question, why there is a demand of green products probably in Europe and it is not there in India? See, demand option again, like it is not only the company is responsible for that. It is not only that government is responsible that. As a customer, I'm also responsible. As a customer, if I'm not interested in those green products, okay, so then probably how the demand of that product would be there. So we need to take responsibilities, and everybody is important. Everybody has to take their part. Everybody has to play their role, and then only we can think that we are going to achieve this sustainability. Thank you so much. I think Dr. Saloni is also there.
Good morning, sir. This is Dr. Saloni from the Business School University of Jammu, sir. So I am faculty HRM. So I have one question related to green HRM practices, sir. So how, sir, green HRM practices will help you in achieving circular economy?
Very important question. See, I always used to say people, they are the key person, I think. As you already mentioned, HRM practices. So if you are not able to manage your people, if you are not having a support of your people, so there is no means. See, machinery is not going to deliver the products. It is the people, it is the employee, okay, it is the expertise of the people, skills of the people that they are going to deliver the products or services. So if you are adopting those green or sustainable services or products to the customer, so I think human beings, soft dimension, I must say. So soft dimension in terms of that talent management, in terms of their skills, expertise, trainings, and so, or participation or engagement. So that is highly important. So without people, there is no meaning of green or maybe circularity or whatever you could say. Okay, so you need to take care of your people.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Please. So I think I really I'm happy, I'm glad to see the engagement of the participants. Ashu Tiwari has also mentioned if a person wants to develop some framework and data is available in the discussion paper, in one or two paper, how much authentic it would be to support your argument with them. That is very much authentic, my dear, because see, what you are saying, if you are having some support, if you are having some references, if you are having some literature support, or maybe if you are having some support from policy, or if you are having some support from the document, and they are published in well-known resources, they are published with some reputation. You can't cite maybe a local magazine. You can't cite maybe a local, you could say, source. So you need to authenticate with the proper sources, and they should be recognized. Okay, because if you're citing something which is not recognized, so who is going to believe you? So your sources should also be highly recognized, and then I think probably you can justify your arguments. You can justify your statements. So any other question, please? I would be much more than happy to take it. Anita Tanvar. So how climate cost can be calculated, from where we can get that data? See, it is a very broad question, Anita. Like climate cost, because it again depends on so many different parameters. Okay, if you're talking about climate cost, so first of all, you need to understand like what are the determinants of those climate costs? Who is contributing to that, isn't it? Because climate it's very broad term. So you need to first of all define your parameters very clearly, and then you need to see who is going to bear that. Sometimes manufacturer, processors, sometimes maybe cost, sometimes there could be some opportunity cost as well. Sometimes there could be different types of other costings, those are involved or parameters are involved. And then I think you should try to see who is the responsible guy for this particular parameter or for this particular costing. And then you should try to understand the holistic picture. Greenwashing of disclosure is a big threat to integrate sustainability. How do you think we can tackle this problem? Of course, greenwashing, it's a very important problem, and we need to take care of it, because as I already mentioned, companies, they are investing a lot, maybe on the branding, maybe on advertising, and maybe on doing so and so, but we need to see the reality. Okay, what is the actual level of implementation in those companies? You have seen probably there are different cases, like from Volkswagen. So like there was a case like when probably they were failed in those emissions or maybe emission standards and so and so. So there was a case of that product recall itself. Okay, so it is not even with small manufacturers, small businesses, large enterprises. Sometimes they also being caught in such, I don't know, in such kind of you could say issues when they are promising something else, but they are not doing it in reality. So there are so many other examples are also available, but it is a very serious issue, and we need to address that greenwashing should not be there. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the audience doesn't have any more questions. I'd like to ask one question, sir. What are the implications of Industry 4.0 for the green economy? And how, as business students, can we take advantage of it?
Sure. So see, when you're talking about Industry 4.0, as already mentioned, means you are talking about recent technologies, the application of those technologies. Okay. So see, for Industry 4.0 technologies, probably you're talking about all different variety of technologies. For example, blockchain is there, Internet of Things is there, virtual reality is there, augmented reality is there, sensors are there. You could say that robotics are there, big data is there. Okay, and there could be so many other technologies, like you can go with any of these. Now, what is the real implication on green economy or sustainable economy or business sustainability? See, when I'm talking about this waste, so the question comes now, how you can take maximum value from that waste, because you need to do something with that waste. So technology could be used as a lever Okay, technology could be used as a lever to reduce that wastage. Technology could be used as a lever to reduce the consumption of your electricity, your water, your other, you could say, raw materials, and so and so. So technology could be used as a lever to improve those circular economy or sustainability or green aspects in the economy. Now, for business students, it's very important. I think we can take some small projects. For example, you are going with some maybe data mining. You are going with some maybe cloud computing. You are going with some maybe a kind of technological implementation. So probably like students can do some projects in their MBAs, and I would like to urge faculty members, like they can create some groups. They can create some groups, and those group can be directed for some projects related to Industry 4.0 technologies. And then the thing can be seen, like what was the, you could say, performance level, probably pre and the post. So both scenarios could be compared, like pre and post. Or maybe you can take some data from industry, and then you can analyze those data using those Industry 4.0 technologies. Maybe some kind of forecasting can also be done. See what kind of emissions would be there for next 2 years, what kind of waste they are going to generate, how much that value is going to be have. So those kinds of projects, I think people, when they can take, like in students group activities, and those are very small projects, but again, those are going to create an impact, because that impact is very important. Okay, thank you so much. Green human resource management is the solution for sustainable development. I already mentioned people, they are the key, but I would say it's not only the people. Okay, it's not only the people, but you can't neglect people. So there are 3 P's. You are talking about people, you are talking about processes, and you're also talking about performance or integration. So people, they are the key entities, but it is not only the people, or maybe green human resource management is the solution. You rightly mentioned it is a key solution, and you need to agree with that, because without people, it's nothing can be done. So you need to upgrade your people. You need to upgrade your manforce, your workers, your employees. Okay, so that's the best part of the day. How we can encourage responsible consumption? See, as a customer, are you able to buy green products? Or what type of products are you buying? If I ask you, Mr. Sulochna or Mrs. Sulochna, I don't know. So if I ask Sulochna ji, like what kind of products are you buying? Are you buying those green conscious products? Are you buying those energy rated products? Sometimes we are not buying those because we are not bothered about energy. We are not bothered about environment. We are more bothered about cost. You have to take care of all those aspects in the mind. So that is the thing, that it is not something that we are able to encourage consumption. Government is doing a couple of initiatives for that. But as a customer, how much I'm ready for that? How much I'm ready to pay for that? Of course, you need some kind of support that you can't afford those expensive products. And still, like those kinds of initiatives are going on, like how they can reduce the pricings, or maybe the, you could say, the costing of these some products. Thank you so much. So yes, if you are using and working, that's wonderful. And I would like to request all of the members who are attending this particular conference, this meeting. So we need to be very conscious about green, or maybe sustainable, or maybe those kinds of circular economy aspects and products, okay, in our daily life as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time, for coming here and sharing your knowledge with us. It was indeed an insightful session.
Thank you so much.
I would like to call for our third keynote speaker, Professor Robert Pfaff. He is an emeritus professor at the School of Business, the University of Queensland, and professor of finance at Bond University, Australia. He also served as visiting research professor at the Accounting and Finance Association of Australia and New Zealand. He works in the area of empirical finance and accounting research, with signature work in asset pricing, corporate finance, and capital markets. His work is well respected, proven by the fact that he has been cited for over 19,000 times in various papers. His most valuable contribution in the field of research is Pitching Research, a new educational initiative for research students worldwide. He authored more than 500 academic journal papers, book chapters, review articles, commentaries, and conference papers. He also authored two significant books in the field of finance, corporate finance, published by Pearson Education, and Research Design Issues in the Estimation of Data, published by McGraw-Hill. Not taking any more of his time, I would like to hand over the platform to Professor Pfaff for his address.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Hopefully you can hear me fine. I guess if there's any problem, you'll soon enough tell me.
Yes.
I have just 30 minutes, so it's a very tight time schedule, so I'll do my best just to give a flavour, a teaser of some important themes that I'd like to share with the conference. It is indeed a pleasure and an honour to be given the role of this keynote talk, and the title of my talk, and hopefully the title slide is in evidence on the share screen, Pitching Responsible Science for the ICSG 2022. And you should see on the title slide a lovely photo, an image of the campus of Bond University on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. So I have a simple agenda to cover in I guess now 28 minutes, and that is to give you a quick primer on what my view of responsible science is, and it's a very neutral view in terms of taking any particular position about sustainability or responsible goals or that, and I'll explain that for you shortly. And then I'm going to very quickly give you a primer of the pitching research framework that was referred to in the introduction. And then finally, I'm going to tell you about some resources and initiatives that I think will be of value for many of the participants for this conference. I have sent across just now the PowerPoint slides, and I'd be very happy for these to be shared far and wide to all the participants. There are a number of links in these slides, so if you get access to these slides, those links will take you to the various locations of resources, etc. So I'd strongly encourage you to get access to these slides. So let me begin with a very quick overview of what, in my mind, responsible science is about. And before I even get to that, let me quickly explain to you why I'm using the term science. I'm really elevating us as researchers, where we're not in the traditional science realms of the hard sciences, the physical sciences, and so on, but really when we create research, which I think for most participants of this conference, this is a primary goal and objective, that research is really our contribution to the scientific community. So in other words, I'm viewing research and science as largely synonymous. And what links them together is that our goal is to make some advance in knowledge. So it's really about knowledge creation. And when we think of research, it's scholarly research that we engage in. So just one description of research that I found locally, but I think this would be repeated over and again around the world and in all jurisdictions, that it's helpful to think of research as the creation of new knowledge and or the use of existing knowledge in new and creative ways so as to generate new concepts, methodologies, inventions, and understandings. And the critical part of that and the core theme is that research or science should and is about the creation of new knowledge. So in terms of the way I think of the term responsible science, it has three underlying pillars. The first pillar is, I think, where we traditionally reside as academics and researchers, and that is to create credible research, to use rigorous research methods and make an offering to our community around credible research. The second pillar that I believe is important in terms of thinking about responsible science is relevant research. And while we would all argue amongst ourselves and make a case that our research is relevant, I think what would be argued more generally around science and research, that there's a general trend in certain areas for it to be less relevant than what we would like it to be. And then the third pillar is of independence, that we deliver research that is independent. So those three pillars are credible research, relevant research, and independent research. Now, another way of expressing that is to think of credible research as providing reliable knowledge. Relevant research as providing useful knowledge, and independent research as providing unbiased knowledge. Now, of course, there's an artificiality here in the sense that it might seem as if these are being portrayed as mutually exclusive. Of course, they're not. There will be overlaps across these three pillars. Nevertheless, I think it is quite useful and important to give them their own sort of existence and allow us, in terms of our mindset, to bring ourselves to a space which might have us be seen as responsible scientists. Now, one reason why I believe this is important is that there's growing disquiet, there's growing evidence, there's growing pockets of research that suggest all is not well, that there may be some type of crisis or at least problems with research in ways that we may not find so obvious or that we might find hard to believe. And so these pockets of concern and disquiet can occur under a range of headings. Replication failure, I think, is one that many of us may have been exposed to, but others may be surprised to hear that in I guess all fields, there are growing concerns that even the most iconic papers, some of them, and indeed a higher percentage of them than you would be comfortable with, cannot be replicated or are not easily replicated, and therefore come under that the disquieting banner of replication failure. There's also publication bias that we need to think about, and a third one that I'd throw in is weird science. And so when we look at all of those three together, you may believe that there's some element of crisis in the research setting. Now, you might argue that crisis is too strong a term, but I still think there's a debate that needs to be had about the extent to which we can rely on the current stock of knowledge that we have, the research that we create, and the science that is supposedly there for everyone to consume and to rely upon. So if this really is the case, to what extent is science credible? Is science relevant and is science independent? Or put in a very similar but different way, to what extent is research reliable, useful, and unbiased? And I think these are questions that will become more and more exposed. More and more we will see different research areas, different researchers, different teams, journals addressing and being more open to thinking about, well, is there a problem? And if there is, how can we find solutions? Finding solutions will not be easy, the extent to which the problems exist. I think a very promising avenue and area that has been around now for quite a number of years, and if you do a Google search of open science, and there are a range of different teams, different groups of researchers and scientists that have collaborated together to give us more understanding of how a more open way of doing scientific research could provide benefits generally, not only to the scientists, to the universities, but to the community at large. So the hallmarks of responsible science, just to finish off this first theme of my talk, will be covered by a range of considerations. This is not an exhaustive list, but responsible science should be good science. It should be as a result of a true contest of ideas. It should avoid twisted and contorted narratives. So I always get suspicious when I read a paper and it's really difficult to navigate, and I wonder whether that's a sign that there's something afoot. There should be a genuine recognition of the fact that the science is never settled, and I always get suspicious when I hear claims that the science is settled, because for me, the science is never settled. There should be no emotion in science. There should be no bullying. Science is not about advocacy. Science is about trying to strive for the unknown truth, and we'll never observe the truth. And the question is always paramount. The answer is what it is. And so I always say to young researchers, novice researchers, PhD students, that if you are too close, if you feel too emotionally tied to what you believe the answer is or the truth is, then I don't believe you can produce research. I think it's something that you care a lot about, and that should be another part of your life. It shouldn't be part of your research life. So where can you learn more about this? Well, there is so much out there. The simplest thing or suggestion for me to say to you is just to Google responsible science, responsible research, open science, and there'll just be tons and tons of things that you can discover. But I'm going to be a little self-serving and finish this first part of my agenda with directing you to an SSRN paper of mine, Responsible Science Matters. And there's also a video that I've done on this that goes into a little bit more detail about responsible science. So let me now move on to my second goal, and that is to give you a quick primer of this pitching research framework that was referred to in the opening or the introduction to my talk. And there's an SSRN paper that I initially uploaded there, I guess 8 years ago now, called Pitching Research. It's had over 22,000 downloads, and I'd strongly urge you to access and have a good read of it if you haven't read it before. But what's it about? Well, in a nutshell, it's reflected in this slide, and it's basically a framework that has 11 sections to it, or 11 elements. And they're down the left-hand side. So the first four I think of as the big picture anchors. This is like a framing exercise. The working title, the basic research question, the key papers, the motivation, and if there's a scholarly puzzle that's somehow mixed up here. So for me, this is really framing a piece of research at that level above or hovering above the research itself. Then we have the next three items, the three essential building blocks. So this is the core intellectual idea, which may or may not involve a hypothesis or a prediction, linked to the data and the sampling that you plan to gain for your research, and then the tools that you will use to analyze the data, to work on the idea and hopefully give some type of answer to the basic research question. So with the data and the tools and much of this, what we're striving for are what are deemed to be the gold standard data and sampling, the gold standard tools and method and analysis that will give us more reliability about a question that hopefully is very relevant. We then have the two key questions. So with most research, but not all research, it's pretty important to identify a novelty. So what's new about that research? And when we're thinking about the replication exercise, which is an important part of demonstrating and interrogating whether research and science is reliable, replications are important. Most of the research we do does require this novelty element. And then linked to that in my mind is the second question, well, so what? Why is it important? So we can fall for the trap easily, and PhD students can do this very easily, where they think if they've identified something that's new and novel, their job's half done or wholly done. And they can find out later on that if they've got something new and novel, but it's not deemed to be sufficiently important, then their research won't be received as positively as they would hope. And of course, all these things really head to the one bottom line, what I think of as the Holy Grail, or at least what I say to PhD students and novice researchers who I use this framework for many, many times. This is like my go-to in terms of getting them to communicate to me their plans for research. And when they get to this item J, this is like the Holy Grail, it's the contribution. So it may have some, and it probably will have an element of the novelty. It will have an element of why it's important, but it's got to go a step further, or at least if it can go a step further, and that is a compelling case for the contribution to advancing knowledge, then we really know that we're on to a high quality piece of research. Of course, there are other considerations, at least for me. I think it's, of course, because those 10 items, while they cover what I believe are all the essential items that recur over and over again in every research project, there will be other things that will come in and out that won't be adequately covered in the 10 items, and that's where they need to be addressed in other considerations. Now, the details of this I expound in that SSRN paper. This is just meant to be a teaser for you, but the way I would describe what this framework, the PRF, the Pitching Research Framework, is trying to do, it's designed to allow a research-enabled learner, and PhD students you would think of as research-focused, so a level up from that, they're included. It's designed to allow a research-enabled learner of any level in virtually any academic discipline to identify the core elements of a viable and worthwhile empirical research proposal. And what I say to my PhD students is, don't really strive for perfection. What your goal is to start a conversation. And if you can start a conversation with your supervisor with information that is meaningful and shows effort and is connected in this pitching research framework, then this will allow to enable you to connect. You as an emerging scholar, you will connect with your research mentor. So that's really the catch cry at the bottom there, that I believe this pitching research framework connects emerging scholars with research mentors. Now, for me, this links back to responsible science. This, for me, is an ideal enabling tool to be used at the very earliest stages of a research journey for a research student, where you require them to pitch their research ideas in this framework, and to do it in a way that you emphasize and stress to them the importance of being responsible scientists, so that they need to generate credible research. They need to choose topics as useful and as relevant as they can be, and they uphold the principles of independence, unbiasedness, and avoiding conflicts of interest. So for a more detailed explanation of the pitching research framework, direct you to the Social Sciences Research Network, to my paper there titled, appropriately, Pitching Research. there's a lot of good advice there. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that has gone into that writing of that. It's not only a good resource for emerging scholars, but for any scholars of any research level. I think it would be a great resource to have. And then if you are a mentor or a supervisor, you should definitely refer your novice researchers, your PhD students to that. Now, the final goal that I want to finish with, and I think we're running pretty well on time, is to tell you about some resources, initiatives, and opportunities that a network and a team that I've created have been developing over the last few years. And these resources are basically all free and available for use by anyone who is interested. So I just thought I'd give you a flavour of 5 of these, and there's just some slides with some links. And as I said, if you get these slides later from the conference organisers, then you can click the links and go to whichever resource you find potentially interesting. So we have an immersive website. We have a research network, which we've called Inspires. There's a micro-credential course that we've developed and is available for free. There's a global pitching competition that we've run for the very first time, and we will be running again. And then we're piloting some pitch mentoring programs. So in terms of the website, there's a one-stop shop for all things pitching, and it's very easily found at pitchingresearch.com. And here's a screenshot of what you would encounter. If you click that link, your research journey starts here, and we can see that across the top there are places to find out more about the research network, which I'll tell you about shortly, events and competitions, and resources, as well as a start pitching, a pitch creation tool that will allow those that want to work on their personal pitches or whatever pitches they have in mind using that particular online facility. So if you were to click the resources tab, this is a screenshot of what you would see. Basically, we've created some materials around 7 modules. So module 1 is Responsible Science Matters, and what you would find there are some more information, a more detailed coverage of the topic that I started off with in today's keynote address. There are other modules there as well. Now, if I go on and tell you a little bit about the research network, the Inspires Research Network that we've created. We created this about, when was it, March or April last year. So Inspires stands for the International Society of Pitching Research for Responsible Science. And our mission is that we're obviously international, globally facing. We're primarily aimed at research training and capacity building. So those resources that you saw in the screenshot a few slides ago, they have been created in a way that any aspiring researcher, novice researcher who wants to gather more training, and particularly if they're in an isolated part of the world where the training facilities or the resources are weak, and under-resourced, then this is a place to go where they can supplement and augment their training. And this rests on the foundation theme of responsible science. So the link, the website link shown here, if you click that and scroll down to the bottom of that page, it will give you a spot to click to sign up. So it's a very quick sign up. We just gather a little bit of information, including your email address, so that we can communicate with you. Because, for example, we do put out regular quarterly newsletter and other occasional information. So if we have your email address, we can actually share that information with you and any new initiatives. We have currently over 1,000 members of Inspires, and there's 79 countries and jurisdictions represented, as shown on this slide. So I'd really strongly encourage you to join Inspires, and this will get you more connected to the community of scholars that we've developed. Okay, we've created this micro-credential course. It's called Pitching Research Matters. So this is a course that is designed to last or require about 10 hours of effort. So if you are a senior researcher or you've got a course where you train novice researchers, research-focused or research-enabled students, this is ideal. The link, the landing page link here, if you click that, this is the screenshot, and it gives some basic information about, and takes one through 3 modules that build an expertise and an understanding of that framework that I very quickly gave you a flavor of just a little earlier. So the course is totally free, and there's a final quiz. There's quizzes at the end of the 3 modules, and then there's a final quiz of 20 questions. And the students that have registered and score 70% or above will receive an official Bond University certificate. So that will then indicate some degree of expertise in being able to communicate a research, a mini research proposal, if you like. And this is an image of what the official Bond certificate looks like for the Pitching Research Matters micro-credential. So as I said, it's designed to take about 10 hours. There's a bunch of slides at the back of this deck. So when you get this slide show and you're interested in signing up and you want some more guidance on how to sign up for that micro-credential, it's a fantastic course. So I'd strongly recommend it. And there's plenty of slides there to guide you. There was reference to a global pitching research competition. We ran the inaugural one and finished in June of this year. This is a link to the competitions tab of the website, and there's a full summary there of what happened in that inaugural competition. The final thing that I'm going to finish on, and it's very close to my 30 minutes now, but we've initiated a pitch mentoring initiative. There are a range of phases, although they vary depending on the different pilot programs we've got. It starts with becoming a member of Inspires, doing the pitching research micro-credential, phase 2. Then in phase 3, those that get to that phase are invited to do a personal perspective pitch. In phase 4, we will then, for the top 3 in that from that phase 3, we will arrange relevant experts from the Inspires network to give some mentoring advice on the research pitch. And then, subject to quality, phase 5, the deemed winner of that initiative will be a semi-finalist in the upcoming, and it'll be the second Inspires Global Pitching Research Competition. So the pilot programs we've got going at the moment, in South Africa, the Walter Sisulu University, in Vietnam through the Knowledge Bridge Network, African Accounting Association. We've got something happening in Sri Lanka, the National Pitching Research Competition there. And through Averroes, we are about to launch something. It's not just in India, but through the doctoral workshop that's coming up in late October. And these are the participants in the Walter Sisulu program. So we have 11 that have got through phase 3, and they're now working on their personal pitches. So with that, I think I'm slightly over, but I hope there's been something here to pique your interest, and I hope you're very excited about getting access to these slides, because I think there's a lot of value in those slides for you, depending on what might be of interest. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I suspect there's no time for questions, but it's been a great pleasure, and I wish you all very well for an exciting and worthwhile conference for this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to open the platform to the audience to ask questions. Participants can request to unmute themselves and proceed to ask the questions or put the questions in the chat box.
Okay, I can see a question in the chat box, and I tried to. The question is, when you say responsible science, does the work have to relate to sustainability and its allied areas? And the simple and short answer is no, it does not at all. It may, certainly not ruling that out, but that's why I sort of tried to preface what I was talking about in terms of responsible science is a neutral but important concept. So it's about the reliability and credibility of useful and relevant new knowledge. And so that goes way beyond sustainability or the allied areas. They are included, of course, but it's much more general in its scope and application.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those wonderful insights with us and sparing your valuable time and coming here. With that, we have come to the end of the morning session of the ICSG Conference 2022. The paper presentations shall begin from 11. I thank you all for once again coming here and being part of this conference. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With this, I request all the participants to join their respective track links. The presentations will begin on that at 11. Thank you, everyone.